All right. Hey, it is Brett Johnson here on the Brett Johnson Show live. Today is February 27th, 2026. We have still not blown ourselves up, so we're doing pretty damn good. Hey, I just wanted to wish everyone out there an excellent morning. I hope you're doing all right. Hope your day is fantastic. If it's not, do what you need to do to make it fantastic, because it's your choice every single day to be happy, sad, mad, glad, postal or not. You notice I do not have the Monster Energy drink again today. 2 days in a row without that nasty ass drink is not a bad thing. I got to tell you, my palate is recovering. So, hey, this is the Brett Johnson Show. This is a show that is driven by the listeners. So if you have a question, if you want an opinion on stuff, you got a comment, go ahead and make it. If I'm not coming through loud and clear on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube, please let me know. Today, we're going to talk about Anthropic, because there's some AI news out there that needs to be talked about. We're going to talk about some relationship stuff, becoming a better person. We're going to answer any questions, any comments that listeners have. So please bear that in mind. I guess the best way to start out today, I got up and I showered, thank God. I spent a lot of time these days thinking about, actually I spent most of the time over the past few years thinking about, why I do the things I do, what has happened in my past, why those things happen, how I can use those things to become a better individual. Today, I'm a guy that I call out everybody, often to my own detriment. I certainly on the bad guy side, I'll get on, Telegram, on Dread. I'll talk to the guys over there, and, they know who I am, because most of the time I'm there under my own name. They know who I am. And, a lot of them respect me. Most of them respect me. And I think the reason they respect me is because, hey, I'm equal opportunity. If I see a corporation or a person that of consequence that's on the good guy side, and he is or she is doing something bad, I don't hesitate to call it out. I worked with a company a few years ago. It was a bot mitigation company, and I was let go from that company. That's a nice way to say it. Those people who are being laid off right now, those hundreds of thousands of people in this crappy ass economy, they know what that feels like. And I got laid off while I was working for that company. They knew that type of mentality that I had. They knew that I am not going to hold back just because, you're looking to have a contract with some company doesn't mean I'm going to shut my mouth if that company's done wrong. So it was Twitter. Twitter was at that point in time, Twitter was still owned by Jack Dorsey. Elon Musk came in and bought the damn thing, and I think like a week later, Brett Johnson is flapping in the wind. While I was working for that company, they distrusted me so much that the orders came down that I was not supposed to give any media interview regarding that company whatsoever unless I had a chaperone with me. That way, I guess in case I said something, that the chaperone could, or stop the interview or what have you. There were all kinds of rules like that. And certainly when Musk came in on Twitter, which I guess I'm broadcasting live to right now, when Musk came in on Twitter, I guess they realized that, hey, this guy, he ain't going to keep his mouth shut. So they let me go. I've lost friends, contracts, jobs, money, certainly money, to just doing that right damn thing. And I really believe if we as a society would adopt an attitude of, regardless of the consequence, do the right damn thing. So I spend a lot of time thinking about that, about what drives me, about what I want in life, things like that. I wanted to start this morning by saying the serenity prayer, not because I'm trying to make this a religious show. I'm not. I'm not, but because often in my life, I have been hit with things that I'm very naive. I'm very naive when it comes to relationships, which that's kind of odd. You consider that I'm this former U.S. most wanted cyber criminal, and now I'm this really respected guy on the good guy side. If I tend to say something, people tend to listen. But a lot of the times, and throughout my life, I have been extremely naive when it comes to relationships. For years in my life, I didn't think I was worth, being in a relationship. That comes from my mom and all that crap she fed to me and my sister, treating me and my sister as property. Those are my children, instead of as little human beings. It comes it that absolutely feeds into it. And certainly my dad always thought that the people that he loved was going to leave him. So you bundle all that together and you get somebody like Brett Johnson that is more than willing to go out and commit crime at one point in his life and victimize other people. And then he turns his life around. I turn my life around, and I was always more than willing to try to be loved. I always wanted that, man. I always wanted that. It goes back to my mom. I'm sure it does. And my dad, the way he was, it goes back to that. I was always looking for that love. And I had Frances on, was talking to Frances the other day, and she made the comment of, you deserve to be loved. You deserve to be happy. You've not forgiven yourself yet. You've got these demons in your past that are running your life. And she's right. She's right. So I want to say this for those who don't know, Serenity Prayer, forgot the guy's name who started forgot the guy's name who started AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. He also started Goodwill. Forgot that guy's name, but I've been to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, not because I was addicted to alcohol, but because when you're in prison, you have to attend these things as part of that residential drug abuse program. That cognitive behavioral therapy teaches you that your thoughts determine your feelings determine your actions, change the thought process, and the actions change at the end of the line. So I attended a lot of these, and they were extremely beneficial. And they always said this prayer, and this prayer goes like this. And again, I'm not trying to turn this show into a religious show. I'm not, but this is something that is a nugget of wisdom that we all would be so much better off understanding and embracing. And it says, God, give me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. To accept the things I cannot change. Most of my life, I got a comment here. Before I dive in, let's see what the comment is. This is from Bulging Battery 2050. My friend, that is absolutely one of the topics I'm going to talk about here in just a few minutes. What do you think about the integration of artificial intelligence into nuclear weapon systems and ICBM's launch command? Well, I'm a big fan of, I will answer that, but just to give you a little preview, I'm a big fan of Dr. Strangelove. So that being said, let me finish talking about this. We'll dive right into Anthropic and nuclear systems and the Terminator and all this other stuff as well. All right. The serenity to accept the things I cannot change. A lot of my life, I thought that I could change people, that I could fix people. I was in a relationship at one point in my life where this person was addicted to cocaine. She was prostituting herself, and I was convinced that I loved this person and that I could change her. No, you cannot change anyone. You cannot. You're lucky if you can change yourself. And the only way you can change yourself is if you're willing to accept that you are responsible for where you are in life, wherever that is, in whatever relationship that is. You are the one that's responsible for that. No one else is. You are. You have to be accountable. You have to be responsible for your own life. And it's only at that point that you have the opportunity to make the decision to change. And I spoke about that last night. I mean, yesterday morning, just because you want to change doesn't mean you can. You have to have a support group. You have to have the ability to do that. You know, I thought for years, and even today, sometimes I still fall back on that. Oh, I can change. I can make it happen. You can't. You can't make anyone do anything. So, you know, that hits me really hard. It really hard. That idea, you just please give me the serenity, the calmness, that peace, that interior peace that I need to accept the things that I cannot change, but also give me that courage, give me that strength, give me that willpower that I need to change the things that need to be changed. Because I got to tell you, we as human beings, we have a lot of power if we exercise it, if we exercise that choice, if we have the courage to follow through, the conviction to follow through, the perseverance to follow through. We have a lot of power to do that. We do, and you know, the last line, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more, and the wisdom to know the difference. You know, it's you have to be willing. I've got a friend that a LinkedIn friend. You know, that's where a lot of my friends are. A lot of my friends I've never met, but I call them friends because I talk to them online. And I never thought I'd be like that. I've always been like, those Facebook friends are not friends. But that's what I got. You know, that's what I got, because I'm kind of this I'm an introvert that acts like an extrovert, and I'm those are the friends I've got. Okay. Yeah, those are the friends that I've got. So this friend of mine, she reached out, and she's, I don't know, she's out west someplace or something like that, but she was romantically involved with this fellow that was a meth addict. And she reaches out to him. She doesn't even tell me this. She's like, hey, you know, can I talk? She got me on LinkedIn. Can I talk to you? I was like, absolutely, you can talk to me. She's like, well, I need some help. And she started explaining it, tell me what this guy was doing, but she didn't mention that he was addicted to anything at all. And she keeps telling me this. And I was like, and you know, after, you know, several messages, I was like, is this guy on any type of drugs? And she was like, well, and I was like, sounds like meth. Is he using meth? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, look, and that's when I was like, you know, I told her the same thing I said yesterday on the show. You know, someone who has an addiction, they put that addiction above everything else, every relationship. They cannot love anything other than that addiction. They may think they do. You may think they do, but they don't. And you have to, that serenity prayer, you have to understand you cannot change that guy. I've got another friend, her damn brother-in-law is an alcoholic. So I last week, about 2 weeks ago, he goes on a friggin' bender. He steals her husband's AR-15, goes off running. The police are after him. He takes some pot shot, at least one pot shot. They've got his ass in rehab right now, and I guess the family, they're you know, sitting there going, well, you know, poor fella. Well, no, not poor fella. You know, not poor husband, not poor daddy. He chose to drink. He chose to do all that crap. He chose not to turn his life around. He's choosing that every single day. And when people support that, and they support that by saying, "Oh, poor fella, you've had a hard life. Do you need a care package? Can I give you any money? Let's hire you, blah, 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 friggin' blah." When you do that, you become an enabler, and you just make sure that his fall, his where he needs to hit rock bottom, it keeps going and going and going. It takes longer for him to reach that bottom point where he understands that, hey, I got to turn my life around. Maybe he understands that, or maybe he dies of cirrhosis. Maybe. I don't know. But the point I'm getting at, with my life, I've had people that I have, that I've absolutely loved. I have absolutely loved. I have been absolutely convinced that we are going to be together. And the problem is that, when you've got those rose-colored glasses on, a lot of the time you do not, you ignore some of the warning signs, that person you're with is spending more time talking about somebody else. That's the problem. If that person you're with is continuing to come up with excuses of why, I love you, but that's a problem. So this is prayer hits that, God, give me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the clarity, the understanding, the willingness to accept the things that I cannot change. There's my mom trying to call in. Courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That truly, to me, that prayer there encompasses most of what we need to know in order to deal with ourselves and our fellow human beings in relationships of all types. So I just wanted to share that. I want to see what kind of comments we've got so far. Happy Friday, Brett. Well, you know what? Happy Friday to you too. Is today Friday? Shit. I keep losing days. I do. I keep losing days. I swear to God, I thought today was Thursday. Do you still talk to anyone from the old days of Shadow Crew days? Zach, I do. That's Texas Zach 1217. I do. A couple of those guys, John Giannone, he's one. He's turned his life around. Good kid. John was I call him a kid. He's an adult. John was a guy that no other way to say it, I put in prison, and he kept hounding me over the years. Brett, what about this? What about that? Today's Friday, so there you go. I had to check because I was like, is today Friday? So I talked to John Giannone. I've had other guys that have reached out to me, and John's a good guy. He was on the world's greatest heist on Netflix with me. I talked to other people too. Most other people, there's been a couple of guys, I've talked to probably 20 of them. Some of them have been Shadow Crew guys that were never arrested, that have went on into the cybersecurity industry, and they have outstanding, and I mean outstanding careers. They're doing good every single day. They've got families, they got friends. Some of them work at video game companies. Some of them work at security companies, and they've reached out to me on the low and said that, they were glad to see me doing good and that they were doing good. And I'm like, man, I am so damn proud of you. Like John Giannone, I'm so damn proud of him. Jesse Lucas was not a Shadow Crew guy. I mentioned him yesterday. He's turning his life around. I'm so damn proud of that kid. Now, that being said, most of the Shadow Crew guys that reached out to me, they have not turned their lives around at all. They are still banging away, and they are still making a ton of money. Dmitry Golubov, the Ukrainian associate of mine, at one point he wanted me to he wanted me to come to the Ukraine and marry a person of his. We were close associates. He reached out, not directly. He was running, he was a member of parliament in the Ukraine. He was running for mayor of Kiev, and he had a film crew reach out to me because he was filming a documentary that wanted, kind of this propaganda documentary of how he was now a good guy. And so I did that documentary. I've never watched it or anything like that. Most of the Shadow Crew guys, they're still doing the exact same things they were doing, or they're in prison right now. Yeah, that's most of the Shadow Crew guys. That's one of those things right there. There's Lisa. Boston has a whole area called Methadone Mile. I got to tell you, why do think about this for a minute. Why do people resort to drugs? I mean, certainly there's the curiosity, there's the thrill, there's things like that. But like, I come from Hazard, Kentucky. Hazard, Kentucky at one point was the capital throughout the United States of OxyContin use. More was prescribed, more was used, more users per capita, everything else in Hazard, Kentucky, Perry County, Kentucky, than any place else in the United States. And I go back there, I've been back a few times, and I've got to go back soon because I've got people there that I turn my life around, and these people are proud of me. I used to be a piece of shit in that area. These people are proud of me. So I've got to I go back every now and then, like this teacher, this Carol Combs that I know. She was the first decent human being that I ever met in my life, junior year in high school. And I'm not. She's begged me to come and talk to her, and just be with her and visit her. And I keep putting it off, and I keep putting off talking to her because I'm this guy at the same time that I'm scared to death of getting close to people. I've had girlfriends where and there's been like this one throughout my entire life that I've actually been close to, really close to, and wanted to share and have shared and everything else. And that's this same thing of, just because one person wants it, just because one person is dedicated, you can both love each other and it not happen, because other shit's going on in the other person's life. You can absolutely do that. That serenity prayer, again, give me that, the serenity, the courage, the wisdom, But Hazard, Kentucky, I go, the last time I went back, they don't have anything for kids. They don't have anything. They don't have a skating rink. They don't have a movie theater. They don't have places for kids to hang out. They don't have anything. When I was a child, when I got the ability to drive, what you did is you get in your car and you'd make circles downtown, and you'd have this traffic line of circles, people just driving around in a circle, because that's what you did. There was really nothing else to do. Back then they had a movie theater and stuff, but most of us kids, we were lucky to be able to afford any gas in the car. So we'd load up a bunch of people. They'd all contribute to a tank of gas. And that's what we'd do for the night. These days, that doesn't even happen. So, if you got a population of people that, they're hardworking, they're extremely poor, and that's what Hazard, Kentucky is. They're lucky to get a job. I mean, damn lucky to get a job. They have no real outlook, for a positive future. What are you going to do? Yeah, you might snort a pill. You might, since OxyContin got to where it was $1 a milligram, an $80, an 80 milligram tablet was $80. No one can really afford that crap. So you might resort to something called methamphetamine, or, bath salts, or whatever that is. You might do that because, at least that gives you that quantity of time where you don't have to think about reality. It skews things in a manner where you can just shut that shit off and carry on for just a little bit and get away and escape from the hardships of what's going on in your existence. So there's no wonder that people, and it's not just, that there's all kinds of reasons that people resort to that kind of thing, you know, because they feel freaking euphoric. Shot in the jaw. You goddamn right. Excuse my language. Quick question. When people steal identity, do they open an LLC on that ID? But loans for new businesses are against the individual, not the business, since it's new. So talking synthetic fraud, and I want to talk about Anthropic. I want to answer these questions too, because this is a listener-driven show. All right, so I'm gonna give you an example of synthetics. All right, so 2011, the Social Security, 2011, the Social Security Administration, they randomized Social Security numbers. They did that to defeat a very specific form of identity theft. It turns out that if you're born before 2011, if I have the last four of your social, if I know the state you're born in and your date of birth, it's extremely easy for me to get the first five. So they randomized the numbers to stop that. When they did, it creates synthetic fraud. All right. So now you can't tell when a Social Security number was issued, the state it was issued to, crap like that. What that allows is for me to either fabricate a Social Security number out of thin air using the algorithm, or to use a child's Social Security number. So typically these days, and you can still, you can do either one. But say I use a child's Social Security number, I'll go on the dark web, I'll buy it for $3, which is what they're selling it for right now. $3 gets you the child's name, social, date of birth, mother's maiden name, place of birth. I'm just going to use the social. I take the social, I put your name to it, your date of birth, a different address, a different phone number. I apply for credit. An application for credit bureaus don't know you exist unless you tell them to. That application for credit will be denied. But when it's denied, it actually creates a credit report in that ghost, that synthetic, in the bureau system. Okay. Now, at the same time I'm doing that, I'm going to use your real name, your social, date of birth, address, phone number, and I'm going to get an EIN, an employer identification number, because I cannot do that under a child's Social Security number. Okay. So I've got the EIN under your identity. At the same time, I've got the synthetic with your information attached to it. I'm going to take that synthetic, I'm going to pump it up to a 760 plus credit score. I can do that in 45 to 60 days with primary trade lines, secondary trade lines. No need to explain right now what those are and how those are used, okay? But the idea is, once I get that synthetic with your information attached to it to that 760, once I get the EIN with your real information, I'm going to mix them together and I'm going to apply for business credit because of exactly what you just said. A new business, they don't look at the business, they look at the individual. In this case, that's synthetic. All right. Now, why do I do that? Well, because those credit lines are, $200,000 a pop. And it's very difficult to catch that type of fraud, especially if you're using primary trade lines to pump that credit score up. So your question, do you open an LLC on that identity? The answer is you can. You don't have to, but you can, okay? It depends on the skill level of the criminal, what that criminal is trying to accomplish, and what tools that criminal is using to commit that identity theft. Are they doing synthetic fraud? Are they doing traditional identity theft? Are they looking to just open up new accounts? Are they skilled enough to run a business identity theft scheme like that and actually profit and actually let it sustain long enough to profit? So all those things come into play when we're talking about what happens with your identity. All right. It's an open air drug market. She's talking about methadone mile. It's an open air drug market next door luxury housing. Nobody seems to be able to remove them. Crazy. Well, and the thing is, I know that we tend to talk about or view people who are addicted to substances as degenerates, as poor, as destitute, as uneducated, as unimportant, all these things. That's really not the case. It's really not. I think that cocaine absolutely crosses all boundaries, depending on the transport whatever they call that. I'm not a drug authority, but you know, whatever the means is to get it into the body, it absolutely crosses all boundaries, demographics. Um, I think methamphetamine to a large degree does, although that is more of a white drug. I think it does. Marijuana certainly does. Alcohol certainly does. You know, a lot of people don't view alcohol as a drug. Come on, man. It is the drug. All right. So, you know, all these things come into play when we're talking about drugs. And you know, that is next to a luxury housing, you know, neighborhood does not surprise me at all. At all. I mean, shit, I've been to Los Angeles. Los Angeles, you're doing all right. You make one wrong turn, you someplace you don't want to be, you know? So that doesn't surprise me at all. And as we continue to fall as a nation, I think we're going to get more and more that view of rich and poor living next to each other. You know, those extreme levels of richness and poverty. Like you know, I'm from Hazard, Kentucky, and it's not uncommon. Hell, in Alabama, I'm in Alabama right now. It's not uncommon here. It's not. It's Texas. You know, I spent a lot of time in Texas, both in prison and out. But you know, it's not uncommon to see a trailer, a rundown single wide trailer with washing machines and you know torn up cars in the front yard, sit next to a you know $400,000 or $500,000 brick home. You know, just you know quarter acre away. That's not uncommon. That happens. You know, and I think that as we continue to fall as a nation, and we are not in the heyday of the United States anymore. You know, we're in the twilight. You know, we're on the downward slope, guys. You know, that's all there is to it. You know, there's a reason that people can't afford homes anymore. There's a reason that a pack of beef bologna is running almost $10. You know, we're absolutely going down. And you know, like the fall of Rome, you know, you may think it's not going to happen. It's going to happen. All right, so let's go down. There's Michael Semister, doom rolling. Shot in the jaw. We all do. You're damn right. You're damn right. You're damn right, man. All right. So yesterday, a couple of news things came out. I want to read this because this is, I think, very important. This is Anthropic. They so there's the two big AI companies right now. OpenAI, they have ChatGPT, and Anthropic, they have Claude. All right, those two are outstanding. They truly are. I don't know who the third one, the third biggest one is. Is it Twitter? I guess it's Twitter. I guess it's Elon. I guess I don't know. I guess. All right. Meanwhile, from the looks of it, the Chinese are, you know, they're drinking our milkshakes. I drink your milkshake. Yeah, the Chinese are absolutely drinking our milkshakes when it comes to AI. They absolutely are. They continue to make progress. A lot of their systems that are amazing are open source, so you don't have to pay for it. And the reason you don't have to pay for it is, well, the Chinese got all that information. Yes, they do. So that's why you don't have to pay for it. But anyway, those in the know, a few weeks ago, it came out that the Pentagon had used Anthropic's Claude AI system to help plot and plan the incursion into Venezuela. All right. Anthropic last year, they had actually signed it was a multi-billion-dollar contract. I forgot how much money. It was a ton of money for the Pentagon to use Claude and Anthropic's AI systems in the Pentagon, the DOD, the Department of War, whatever you want to call it. They signed that. So, but the agreement was, you know, we're not going to use it for autonomous services. You know, we're not going to let you just put it in something and have that, you know, decide who to kill, where to kill them, and how to kill them. We're not going to do that. And the other thing was, we're not going to allow mass surveillance of U.S. citizens. So that was the terms of service. January, the Pentagon informed all AI companies that were being used by the government, by, you know, the Department of War and the Pentagon, that, hey, we're going to use it however we want to. Later in January, Anthropic and OpenAI and all these other companies, they received this thing saying, hey, we want versions of your system that do not have any guardrails on them at all so that we can do whatever we want to do with that. All right. Then it comes out, of course, Anthropic doesn't, there's no news at that point in time on any of that. Everybody's just kind of swallowing that. Then Anthropic finds out that, Claude was used to help with the incursion into Venezuela. They got upset. The head guy over there, Dario Amadi, I don't know how you say his name. He comes up and he says, hey, we don't like that. We don't want you to do that. The result was Pete Hegseth, the National Guard guy who's now in charge of all of America's forces. Let me say that again. The National Guard guy who really likes alcohol, who's now in charge of all of our nation's military, other than Trump, gets mad. And he says, since you're going to do that, we're going to label you as supply chain risk unless you bend the knee. What does that mean? Well, labeling a company a supply chain risk is usually only done to foreign adversaries. If you do that to an American company, what that means is that anybody who is involved in a government contract cannot use Claude on any of their systems. That's 8 out of 10 is what that is. What that means potentially is that all that VC money that's been going to Anthropic, all that profit, all that money, all those supplies and resources, and all those people that have been signing up for it, and all those companies, they ain't going to do that anymore. That also means that any military service member cannot own an iPhone because Apple Intelligence has Claude integrated into it. So Apple would either need to get rid of Claude, probably not going to happen, or the military service members would no longer be allowed to own iPhones. They'd have to have Androids. All right. That's what would happen. So Amadi, Hegseth, military, Anthropic peeps, they got their little powwow together. I guess they pulled out their peace pipe or war pipe or whatever you wanted to call it, and they smoked to beat all hell and tried to work a deal out. Evidently, that deal did not get worked out. So Amadi yesterday, the news broke that they were not going to meet or bend the knee to the Pentagon's demands or threats. He released this statement. I'm going to read this in full because it's not very long, and we're going to talk about it. All right. Michael Sinister, we better hope that Anthropic gets good at anti-war games. Well, yeah. And Michael Sinister again, when the government has control over most of the LLMs, we need some to help balance the equation. Well, I can't argue with that either. Amadi releases this statement. I believe deeply in the existential importance of using AI to defend the United States and other democracies and to defeat our autocratic adversaries. Anthropic has therefore worked proactively to deploy our models to the Department of War and the intelligence community. We were the first frontier AI company to deploy our models in the U.S. government's classified networks, the first to deploy them at the national laboratories, and the first to provide custom models for national security customers. Claude is extensively, and by God they are, Claude is extensively deployed across the Department of War and other national security agencies for mission-critical applications, such as intelligence analysis, modeling, simulation, operational planning, cyber operations, and more. Anthropic has also acted to defend America's lead in AI, even when it is against companies' short-term interests. We chose to forego several hundred millions in revenue to cut off the use of AI by firms linked to the Chinese Communist Party, some of whom have been designated by the Department of War as Chinese military companies. We shut down CCP-sponsored cyber attacks that attempted to abuse Claude and have advocated for strong export controls on chips to ensure a democratic advantage. Anthropic understands that the Department of War, not private companies, makes military decisions. We have never raised objections to particular military operations, nor attempted to limit use of our technology in an ad hoc manner. However, in a narrow set of cases, we believe AI can undermine rather than defend democratic values. Some uses are simply outside the bounds of what today's technology can safely and reliably do. Two such use cases have never been included in our contracts with the Department of War, and we believe they should not be included now. First use case is mass domestic surveillance. We support the use of Claude or AI for lawful foreign intelligence and counterintelligence, but using these systems for mass domestic surveillance is incompatible with democratic values. AI-driven mass surveillance presents serious, novel risks to our fundamental liberties. To the extent that such surveillance is currently legal, this is only because the law has not yet caught up with the rapidly growing capabilities of AI. For example, under current law, the government can purchase detailed records of Americans' movements, web browsing, and associations from public sources without obtaining a warrant, a practice the intelligence community has acknowledged raises privacy concerns and that has generated bipartisan opposition in Congress. Powerful AI makes it possible to assemble this scattered individual innocuous data into a comprehensive picture of any person's life, automatically and at massive scale. The second reason, or the second use case, fully autonomous weapons. Partially autonomous weapons, like those used today in the Ukraine, are vital to the defense of democracy. Even fully autonomous weapons, those that take humans out of the loop entirely and automate selecting and engaging targets, OMG, that's my saying that, may prove critical to our nation's defense. But today, frontier AI systems are simply not reliable enough to power fully autonomous weapons. We will not knowingly provide a product that puts America's warfighters and civilians at risk. We have offered to work directly with the Department of War on research and development to improve the reliability of these systems, but they have not accepted this offer. In addition, without proper oversight, fully autonomous weapons cannot be relied upon to exercise the critical judgment that our highly trained professional troops exhibit every day. They need to be deployed with proper guardrails, which don't exist today. To our knowledge, these two exceptions have not been a barrier to accelerating the adoption and use of our models within armed forces to date. The Department of War has stated they will only contract with AI companies who accede to quote unquote any lawful use and remove safeguards in the cases mentioned above, fully autonomous, mass domestic surveillance. They have threatened to remove us from their systems if we maintain these safeguards. They have also threatened to designate us as a quote unquote supply chain risk, a label reserved for U.S. adversaries, never before applied to any American company, and to invoke the Defense Protection Act to force the safeguards removal. These latter two threats are inherently contradictory. One labels us a security risk. The other labels Claude as essential to national security. Regardless, these threats do not change our position. We cannot, in good conscience, accede to the request. It is the department's prerogative to select contractors most aligned to their vision. But given the substantial value that Anthropic's technology provides to our armed forces, we hope they reconsider. Our strong preference is to continue to serve the department and our warfighters with our two requested safeguards in place. Should the department choose to offboard Anthropic, we will work to enable a smooth transition to another provider, avoiding any disruption to ongoing military planning, operations, or other critical missions. Our models will be available on the expansive terms we have proposed for as long as required. We remain ready to continue our work to support the national security of the United States. Well, I think that's pretty clear. Just me. I'm just saying. I think that right there, by God, is pretty clear. You know, Pentagon, Department of War wants to incorporate Claude into mass domestic surveillance operations. They also want to start working on fully autonomous weapons. Now, there's a problem with that because yesterday, actually the day before yesterday, study came out saying that in simulated war games, the top 3 AI systems, 90% of the time, recommended the use of nuclear weapons. Yeah, Dr. Strangelove. Yeah, that's why I said Dr. Strangelove at the top of the key. So think about that for a second. So Anthropic. So if you're using, I use ChatGPT, and I'm using ChatGPT at a discount. Yes, I am. So I've never used it before. I've been talking down about AI because let's be honest, when it came out, it's crap. It's still kind of, depending on the version it's using, it's still kind of crap. But I read Matt Schumer's blog post the other day. I guess over 100 million people read it. It was talking about AI, and AI helped him write the damn thing, come to find out. But I read it, and he was talking about how good it's gotten and how, you don't need to use the free version because the free version is kind of crap, but how good Claude and ChatGPT has gotten. He's talking about all that stuff. So I was like, man, I need to use that. So I was like, hey, it's just, $20 a month. I can go there. Well, I went over there to compared the two. It turns out Claude is better for code writing. I don't need code right now because I'm running this show. I'm a speaker. I'm a consultant. I'm trying to get some work. So I decided, and ChatGPT it said it was better suited to me. So I went over, I looked at the pricing. Well, I'm the guy I want the best they got. Well, the best they had was like $200 a month. I'm like, I don't have $200 a month. I don't have that crap. I go spend that. So first thing I typed in was ChatGPT discounts. Found a few. None I was real happy with. Found a few. Then I was like, Reddit. Let's be honest, Reddit is a hell of a lot better than Google on a lot of stuff. So headed over to Reddit, typed in ChatGPT discount, found me a guy. There's always a guy. You can bet your ass there's always a guy. Found me a guy that was offering access to ChatGPT Pro, $5 a month. Huh. Turns out he's got enterprise level access, and I guess he's selling slots. That's what he's doing. But got up with him, sent him my $5 in Bitcoin because I still got a Coinbase account. And let's be honest, Coinbase, man, you guys are in trouble after some stuff that happened last night. Yes, you are. I'm so happy about that. I'm so happy. I hope that you guys fail completely, go bankrupt, and that, the CEO, Mr. Armstrong over there, he's on methadone mile because he ain't got no hope in life whatsoever. That's what I hope. Just saying, just throwing it out there. So anyway, signed on to ChatGPT Pro. Turns out I used up my pro limits that first night, but I'm on the thinking mode. Pretty darn good. I've had it plot out. It's plotted out, what I needed to be doing as a consultant / advisor, who I needed to reach out for speaking opportunities, all this stuff. I'm busy doing that. Hopefully it results in some gigs and some contracts for advising / consulting. I guess they wanted to call it advising these days instead of consulting. I don't know. But that's what they're doing. Anyway, that's segue aside. The top 3 recommended the use of military weapons in simulated war games. So can you imagine? Because an AI system does not appreciate human life. They don't have, you may think that AI sex chatbot loves you, going to love you long time. But at the end of the day, that's a machine. They don't have feelings. All you got to do is watch Terminators 1 through 17, and you'll understand that all those machines, they don't have feelings. Even Arnold in Terminator 2, when you think he's got feelings, he doesn't. He's a machine. Hasta la vista, baby. If you put right now AI systems as give them fully autonomous access to weapons systems. Can you imagine how that would go? Oh, there's a threat. We better clear out that threat, launch the nukes. Yeah, that's exactly what we need right now. And that's what you get when you put a National Guard guy, logistics guy, in charge of the military. Oh, yeah, we'll do that. And Elon fed into that crap too. Those who don't remember, he was sitting there, you know, as Trump was coming into office, he was saying, we don't need human pilots in aircraft anymore. They need to be fully autonomous. Can you imagine? That's Skynet right there. Can you imagine how that shit would work out? Not for the benefit of any human being, I'll tell you that. Just my thought, just throwing it out there. Michael DiNardo. How you doing, man? Yeah, I'm glad to be back too, brother. My name is Brett Johnson. This is Brett Johnson Show. We are running right at an hour right now. I wanted to, there was this piece of news that came up the other day. And let's see where that is, because I pulled it up. There we go. There we go. So, I mean, this is a headline that's outstanding for a Friday. Viral video shows Texas Whataburger workers beat unruly customer with trash can fry basket after alleged drunken attack. So for those who don't know, Texans, man, are they proud of Whataburger. A couple months ago, I flew to Dallas to talk to a company that's doing some fintech / blockchain crypto stuff. It's a really good company, and I'm friends with the guy, and I stayed the weekend with his team because I guess they're bringing me in as a partner. At the end of the weekend, they wanted to vet me. You know, they wanted to know, are you still a criminal? You know, so I fly in. Uber picks me up and go to the house where I guess the team kind of lives and operates out of, and go to lunch. And sitting there at lunch, and you know, he asked me some stuff, and you know, I tell him about the relationships that I'm going through, and you know, I'm honest about it. You know, I'm honest about it. I tell him what's happened in my life, and that my marriage at that point in time is before I filed for divorce. I told him my marriage at that point in time in my life is for shit. You know, I'm not happy and what's going on, and you know, we spend the weekend talking about God and people and being a better person. But during that lunch meeting, he looks at me and he's like, Brett, because you know, I knew it was about bringing me on the team. He's like, Brett, if I bring you on, are you gonna rip us off, screw us? He said, Brett, if I bring you on, are you gonna screw us over? And I won't tell you the guy's name, but I looked at him. I said, no, I'm not. But understand, you know, I don't trust crypto at all. If you guys screw anybody over, rip anybody off, I will make it my mission in life to fuck you. And I just left it at that. And he looks at me, and I looked at him and I said, that's a fact. I will absolutely do that. And he was like, okay. So, you know, 2 days later, we're shooting pool at the house, you know, about 5 or 6 of us. He brings his attorney in, and the attorney shoots the game of pool with me. And he only wants me to shoot pool so that the attorney can like hammer me with questions, you know. Well, I evidently passed all that. And then, you know, the next night he's like, you know, we'd like to offer you a 5% position in the company, and you know, with the contract and everything. Well, that was 2 months ago. I still don't have a contract. You know, if it happens, it happens. But let's be honest, the crypto vertical is undergoing some stress right now, so it might not happen. Personally, I would be happy to see the whole damn thing disappear. I truly would. I don't see any benefit at all in any crypto at all. And I mean at all. Anybody want to talk about, when did you get divorced? Michael, I am, dude, man. This last year, 2025, you talk about apathetic. Just apathetic. And it wasn't my soon to be ex-wife's fault. It wasn't her fault at all. It was my fault. You know, I'm the demons that I have are I can keep them under wraps a lot of the times. I keep them tamped down a lot of the time. But that doesn't mean that they don't eat away at me, you know? And I was just becoming more and more unhappy in the house, not because of her or my 2 stepsons at all, but just me. And I did not want to become the guy that would just sit there in silence and start to hate and dislike those people, because those people had given me the only family that I'd ever really had in my life. She was she was a key, I mean, probably the most responsible person, other than me making the decision to change my life and, from crime to doing the right damn thing. She was probably more responsible than anybody at that point in time. I did not want to start hating those people and fomenting anger and stuff like that. So I left, and it was a hard thing to do, man. It's a hard thing to do because I left, and I got a little dog. That's what I got. I got a little dog. He's my buddy, but I don't. It's a very lonely thing. God, is it very lonely? I mean, it truly is. It's very lonely. Like I've got a movie service, got a shit ton of movies on it, and in the 4 months that I've left and filed for divorce, and I guess that divorce is going to be final April 2nd. In the 4 months, I've watched maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7 movies, 1 or 2 TV series. I just kind of sit around and don't do anything. I work, but other than that, I would like to, it's not that I can't be alone. I can. I've done that before in my life. It's not that I can't. It's just that it's like Francis told me, I deserve to be happy. I deserve to be loved. And I'm going to tell you guys out there too, if you're in a relationship or, you've met somebody or what have you, you absolutely deserve to be happy. You deserve to be loved. They do too. If that person, that significant other is not showing that toward you, if they're always pulling back or doubting and questioning stuff like that, you need to be aware of that. You need to, sometimes it takes a while to take those blinders off, those rose-colored glasses off, and to understand that kind of stuff. Excuse me, Cherry Company, watch it, Michael. I've got it. I'm going to watch it. I promise you, I'm going to watch it. Here's some. Mr. Insights, glad to have you back. Is Jordan Peterson a snuck-up snob in real life like he seems? I'll tell you what, that dude, I'm going to tell you the truth. All right, so they called me. I was coming in from a conference. I landed in Texas. As I landed, I got an email from Jordan Peterson's handler asking if I could come into the show. Well, I read that like, holy cow, yeah, I'd love to. So I called him immediately as I got off the plane. That Monday, they flew me out. I was going to be on the show on Tuesday. They flew me out to Phoenix, and Tuesday I recorded the show. Jordan Peterson showed up 15 minutes before the recording. He was wearing his Joker suit, which I'd already scanned him online. I already looked up everything, and he was wearing his Joker suit, and he tells me, I had this made especially for you. Well, I knew that. I let that slide. I knew that wasn't true because I already seen video of him wearing the Joker suit that was recorded, a couple months prior. So I was like, okay, know where that's going. So the next thing is, he doesn't really say anything to me. And he pulls out this notepad and he goes, if anybody's watched the interview, I decided before I got there, hey, I'm going to get this guy's a psychologist. I'm going to get me some therapy. This ain't going to be the usual interviews that he's doing. I'm going to get me some therapy. All right. So he pulls out this notebook and he goes for like 5 or 7 minutes. He goes on about psychopaths and sociopaths. Well, people who know my history, I was always, I didn't want to be called a sociopath because I did know I was doing wrong. I did care about it, but I justified it. I was big on justifying it. I certainly care about victims now, and I empathize with them, right? But I didn't start to do that until I got on the good guy side, that empathy. Um, I always was I always hated people saying that I was a psychopath or a sociopath. All right. I've gotten these days where I'm like, maybe I am. All right. So what? Maybe I am. But by God, I'm doing a lot of good right now. So that's my viewpoint now. But he went on for about 5-7 minutes about this. And 5-7 minutes on camera, silent, as you've got this guy that's extremely well known talking about that will cause one's sphincter to tighten up. That said, once we started talking, all of that went away. After the recording was done, he was gone within 20 minutes. We took a picture together. I've posted that on my social media. I thanked him profusely. He went to use a bathroom. He went to use the bathroom first. He comes out. I go use the bathroom. SOB didn't flush the toilet. So I'm like, So I flushed the toilet for him. That's the first time I've ever said that. Is he stuck up? I didn't think the guy was stuck up. I thought that I thought that he was all business, that he, once the interview was done, I don't think he really gave a damn about me or really anybody else at all at that point. He just booted out. And I think that's because he was so busy more than just his actual, inner self. I understand he's extremely sick right now. I wish nothing but the best for the man. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to meet him and talk to him and learn from him. I actually learned a lot about myself from the man as well. So I've got nothing but gratitude for that individual. Zach, we are here. Zach says we are here for you, bro. I appreciate that. I truly do. Thank you. Michael DiNardo again. I'm sorry, brother. It's so much worse than guys really talk about. It took me 5 years to sort of stabilize. Your body has to mourn like somebody passed away. I somebody mentioned maybe at the top of this show. No, it was a comment yesterday that, hey, Brett, you're looking kind of thin. Yeah, I'm looking kind of thin. I usually go about 230. I'm about I don't know. I guess I'm about 205, maybe a little under 200 right now, because of the loneliness, the stress, that kind of stuff. I've got to the point I buy Krispy Kreme donuts. I eat them like they're going out of style. I ordered some of these Boost high calorie drinks. So it's 8 ounces. It's 530 calories. I just drank the first one this morning. Nastier than the Monster Rehab energy drinks, I got to tell you. But it's 530 calories. I figure out one of those a day, and I can get up to where I'm taking in over 2,500 calories. Try to add like 3 pounds a week. Get my weight back up to where I'm not looking gaunt and something's wrong with me. What's wrong with me is just the stress and the loneliness and not knowing what's going to happen. Not knowing where I'm going to be in 6 months, not knowing about a relationship, not knowing what's going to happen. It's that fear of the unknown, the stress, the depression. Not because I'm, I think that needed to be done. That we needed to divorce, but not because of that. But just the stress of it. It's big. It's big. Okay, so sorry, brother. Your body has to mourn like somebody passed away. Brett Johnson, this is shot in the jaw. Brett Johnson is a smart fella who loves a deal. Who do you use for your movie service? How about, all right, so I'm not saying I'm a pirate. I've been a pirate in a previous life. Matter of fact, as this show's going to run over a little bit. Yeah, why not? Fuck it. Let's let this show run over a little bit. So, when I started my career as that criminal, at one point I was a pirate and I embraced the pirate life. I absolutely did. Went to Disney World and went through, the pirate thing, Pirates of the Caribbean. I went through that several times. Like, yeah, that's me. Bought the pirate hat, had a little fake bird to sit on my chest as I sold pirated software online, did all that. And of course, I downloaded a lot of music and a lot of movies and a lot of games. Of course I did. These days, and let's be honest about that, Netflix pretty much killed piracy. They did. You didn't have to go on the torrents or any place else and get any of that crap whatsoever because everything was on Netflix. And we loved it. And it was like at that point in time, like $5 a month or $7 a month. But it was outstanding. And then Disney came along and Paramount came along and Max came along and all this crap came along. And it cost us more money to stream than cable television did. So guess what? Piracy came back. You're damn right it did. But anyway, when I was a pirate back in the day, it was before I started stealing a lot of money to support my lifestyle. And we all wanted to go to Disney World. Well, the Disney tickets, they weren't as expensive as they are now. A 5-day pass, a park hopper pass, I think at that point was $400 a pop. And I couldn't afford that back then. But if you went to tour a timeshare, yeah, they gave it to you like $150 per ticket for 5-day park hopper. So I'd never been through one of those sales pitches in my life ever. I figured I'll just go in, no, and be out. I didn't understand that the sales pitch was like 2 to 3 hours. So 2 to 3 hours, this guy trying to sell me. I'm like, no. Keep telling him no. You mean you looked at this? You went through it? Why did you come to look at it? I told him I came to look at your shit because you're giving Disney tickets at a really steep discount. That's the only reason I'm here. I'm not about to buy. So they switched me off to different people trying to pitch me and everything else. Finally, this woman comes up and she's like, you can afford to do this. I was like, maybe. She's like, well, you've got a job, don't you? I was like, well, yeah. She's like, well, what do you do? I was like, and I looked at her, I said, I'm a pirate. And she stops. And I looked at her, I said, what? She's like, you're a what? I said, I'm a pirate. I'm an internet pirate. You got a hat? I have an eye patch I wear sometimes when I do it. I've got a fake bird that sits on my shoulder. And I did. I said, I've got all of that. I embrace the pirate life. RRR. And she looks at me and she's like, huh? And I was like, yes, I'm a criminal. I'm a pirate. So she quits and I thought I was good to go. And then this other lady comes up and she's like, since you did visit with us today and everything else, we would like to offer you a cruise. And I'm like, really? And I was falling for it. Yeah, it's like a 3-day Caribbean cruise. We tour these islands. It's outstanding. You get everything free on the. And I was like, I'll sign up for it right now. And she's like, it's $1,500. I was like, no. Where's my tickets? So then I went and got tickets, went to Disney World. But I was a pirate back in the day. Piracy today, it's coming back because streaming services are so bad. If so I use Plex. I like Plex a lot. I was running Kodi, and I thought Kodi was the bomb. And then I got a movie server, actually a dedicated server, and all the suggestions were use Plex. Well, I use Plex, and I got to tell you, man, do I like Plex. It is outstanding. I don't really subscribe to streaming services right now. I am anti-streaming. I'm not saying that I download anything. I'm just saying I'm anti-streaming. But if I were downloading, now Streamio, yep. I heard about that. I've not tried it. I'm thinking about trying that though. If I were downloading, if I weren't paying for, those private channels, and access to that, if I weren't doing that, I'd probably try something like ext.to or Nobbin or something like that. And I would absolutely, want all the 4K stuff that I could get. But then again, my movie server is, I think I'm running like 180 terabytes on that. And I've still got like, I think 70 terabytes open. So yeah, that's just Brett. Not saying, now look, guys, you should not be out there pirating. You should not. All right. You should not. I'm just saying you should not. All right. But at the same time, these streaming services, let's be honest, Netflix sucks. It does. All that content they've got. I wish they would have bought Warner Brothers, but no. Evidently, Trump wanted access to CNN. So it turns out that, the Darth Lord bought Warner Brothers Discovery. All right. So you're definitely not. Guys, you get me to choke up today. I swear to God, you are. GRYFF 8400. Good to hear you. Be kind to yourself. Gareth, I appreciate that, man. Truly. Michael DiNardo, you're definitely not a psychopath or a sociopath. It's almost a different species of human. No empathy. Yeah, man, I guess I've got too much empathy these days. I don't know if you can have too much, but man, I feel a lot of stuff for other people and the damage that I've caused and stuff like that. Ibra and Musala. He says, that's true. Matthew Cox says the same thing. After he got out and was down on all his luck, all he thought about was committing fraud. What stopped you from getting back in that life? I got out in 2011. 2011, I got out. And my dad met me at the halfway house. He had, gift cards that were funded with tax return identity theft that I'd taught him how to commit. I had him go out and buy me a cell phone, which I wasn't supposed to have, but I had it anyway. Had him buy me that and had him buy me a Nintendo 3DS with several games so I could sit there in the halfway house and play games. And, he was committing fraud that I taught him how to do. He was bankrolling me. And then I got released from the halfway house and I got a job as a taxi driver. And, I was trying to do the same thing. I had full intentions of going right back into it, full intentions. And couldn't really pull the trigger a lot of the time. I didn't want to go back into that life. Got to the point, though, that I was bumming money from my dad and my sister. I was on food stamps. I had a roommate that was taking care of half the rent. And they tell you when you get out of prison, find something you care about, find a job, you won't recidivate. Well, the taxi driving job, that was just probation because in the state of Florida, where I was a felon, I couldn't get a taxi license. But I could work that 6-month probationary period, and that's what I was doing. That was coming to an end, and it did come to an end. So I didn't have a job. What I cared about at that point in time, I had my cat. And I got to the point I had the money to feed my cat, and I literally didn't have the money to buy toilet paper. Well, the cat's food's going to come first. I bought my little guy some food. I was at the dollar store, bought him some food. On the way out, there was a kiosk there that had toilet paper, and I ended up shoplifting toilet paper. And right after that, the person I'm divorcing now, Michelle, she reached out to me. I was on this dating site. She reached out to me. We met. I guess that she understood what I was going through. A couple months later, she asked me if I want to move in. I do. And I got a job at a landscaping company, cutting grass, 10 hours a day, pushing a lawnmower. Loved it. Beat my ass, but I loved it. And the job ended because it got too cold. And I'm that guy. A lot of the times I commit fraud because I'm with a woman and I want to, I have, because of my dad and my mom, that upbringing, it was never enough for me to show love in a healthy manner. I always overdid things, and I always showered them with expensive gifts, even if I had to steal it. And I always had to prove myself, felt I had to prove myself in that relationship, that I was never good enough just with me. I'm going through something different these days. I want to be good enough just for me. And that's the thing, guys. You shouldn't have to beg someone to love you. You shouldn't have to buy their love. And I didn't know that back then. I'm understanding that these days. You shouldn't have to do that. You shouldn't have to buy love. You shouldn't have to worry that you're not good enough. Your mate should be there supporting you, and you should always know that you're good enough. Even if you're arguing and screaming and yelling and what have you, you should know that you're good enough. Back then, I didn't. So I start committing fraud. I get it in my head that I can at least bring food in the house. So I start with food orders, and I'm going to tell you, when you're stealing food, you don't steal bologna. You steal frozen crab legs, best taste in the world, stolen frozen crab legs. So you steal stuff like that. You steal expensive stuff. And, it starts with food. And then I look at the boys. She's got 2 boys. And I'm like, well, I can save her she's almost got a job. And I was like, well, hell, I can save her the cost of putting clothes. I can save her the cost of putting clothes on their backs. Start doing that. And I get caught, man. I get caught. And I'd lied to her. I hadn't told her that I was stealing all this stuff. She didn't know. I'd told her lies about it. And she finds out. And the 2 boys, the oldest one, he knew that I was this former guy. The youngest one didn't. And I was like a dad to him. And I was the guy that had to tell him that, hey, I'm this guy. This is me. We weren't married at that point in time. I was like, yeah, this is me. So that whole sequence right there, that whole sequence, man, that was a major shift. I go back to prison for 10 months, get out, and we got married about 2 months later, and I couldn't get a job. I couldn't. I was the guy who stole everything. No one trusted me. And even then, I was like, I'll go so much further, but I have to be able to do something. So I was thinking about committing crime. And I ended up just in desperation, absolute desperation. I reached out to Keith Malarski of the FBI. And he had arrested a lot of people that I knew. And I told him, I was like, hey, man, I'm got nothing but respect for you. You did a fantastic job. And by the way, I would like to be legal. And the man, he responded within 2 hours. He gave me that validation. He gave me references. He gave me all this stuff. He's retired, but he still does that to this day. And from there, it was just Carice Hendrick over at the Card Not Present group. She was a LinkedIn contact. She gave me my first speaking job, and it snowballed from there, and that not committing crime was it wasn't one moment, it was a series of moments. And once that ball started to roll, I realized, hey, I'm going to be okay. I can do this. And then during the pandemic, I found out, I thought for sure I was going to commit crime during the pandemic because the speaking gigs were dying out. The consulting was dying out. And I was like, I'm going to go back to crime, but I didn't. I voiced it and people would reach out and help me. I had that support group that, hey, are you okay? And I continue to not commit crime. And these days, I started saying on my show a couple of years ago, just do the right damn thing. It started out as, just the end of the show. And these days, by God, that's like a mantra. Hey, I mean that. Will I ever go back to commit crime? I can't say I won't. I can't. Now, that upsets people. But the reason I refuse to say that is as I was coming out of prison, those rehab classes, that residential drug abuse program, cognitive behavioral therapy. One of the statements was, don't say you would never do it again, because that gives you blinders. It makes a blind spot so that can come back in your mind. So I don't say I'll never do it again. I say I'm a better person than I was, that I try every damn day to be better than I was the day before. And sometimes I succeed at that. Sometimes I don't, but sometimes I do. All right. Stremio is like all the streaming services in one. And the best part about it is you don't have to figure out which app has which movies. It's all in one app. I will have to try Stremio and see what that is. Apollo is pretty cool and simple. I'll look at that as well. Darcy, thank you so much. You look great, Brett. It's good to see you back online. Enjoy today as much as you can. And remember, one day at a time. Forgive yourself. No one's perfect. And so many look up to you. You are an inspiration. pirate, LOL. Make it a great day. Darcy, you're killing me. I swear to God, you're killing me. Thank you. I truly appreciate that. Shot in the jaw. I used Plex for years until I found Stremio. I'll check out Stremio. Michael DiNardo, Fire Stick everything for 60 a year or something. My first cousin, he does that as for a living. He provides that IPTV stuff and does the Fire Sticks and all that stuff. Success stories like you and Matt Cox is shot in the jaw. Success stories like you and Matt Cox have somewhat restored my faith in humanity. Look, the internet is not real life. I really believe that we as human beings are decent people. We are. The problem is that we have politicians on both sides that want us at war and hating each other. All right. They don't give a damn about us. They care about themselves. We as human beings, we tend to be pretty decent human beings. There are some that are not good, but more than not, we're good people. We are good people. So we need to remember that. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Love thyself as you love yourself as you love your neighbor, or love your neighbor as you'd love yourself. All right. Those two things should be always in our heads. We're here to help each other. We're here to know more about ourselves. If we could just remember that, and this idea of just do the right damn thing, regardless of whether someone's looking at you, whether someone knows about it or not, just do it. If you're, 2 weeks, you change your habits. If you can commit to doing something like exercise, if you commit to lifting, you do it for 2 weeks, you're going to continue to do it because you've started to develop that habit. Same thing for that nasty ass Boost drink, high calorie drink. If I drink it for 2 weeks, I'll start to, I get used to that horrible stuff. Like I did the Monster Rehab energy drinks. So, we are a good people. We really are. We have to stop hating each other. We have to understand that we're all in this together. We truly are. And if we can just start helping each other, we'd be all right. Matt, I love Matt. I do. Matt's a good guy. Matt's got a much more popular channel and show than I do. I'm going to continue to do this show like this because it helps me, and hopefully it starts helping some people out there as well. I want to educate I've got a ton of knowledge on crime and identity theft. I'm also at the same time trying to be a better person. I want this to be a positive show. I don't want negativity. I don't want hatred and bigotry and all that stuff coming into the show. I don't want to spout out a bunch of hatred and anger. I don't want to do that. I want people to walk away from this show, feeling more positive about things. And if it doesn't get a lot of subscriber or listeners, that's okay, because at least it's been done. All right. Last comments. We're going to close out the show. This is from Ebra. The best advice I ever had in my life was, would you talk to your best friend the way you talk to yourself? Of course not. You wouldn't be friends anymore. So talk to yourself the way you talk to your best friend. I like that. I like that a lot. Hey, my name is Brett Johnson. And remember that the serenity, the courage, the wisdom to understand the things that we can change, can't change, and the things that we need to accept. All right. Relationships, ourselves, we can change what we don't like about ourselves. We have the power every single day. We have the choice to start our day trying to do better than we were the day before. We have the choice every single day to forgive anything that's happened or anything that's interior to us, to let it go. We have the choice to do that. A lot of the time, like I have trouble having the courage to forgive myself, but we have the choice. We have the power to do that. It just takes a lot of courage. We have the power to, if we're in a relationship that's no good, that's not benefiting us, you have the choice to get out of it. You can get out of it. Do you have the courage to do that? And do you have the wisdom to understand what's going on? My name is Brett Johnson. This is the Brett Johnson Show, and it's I guess it's a little bit different type of show, but I like it, and I hope you guys do too. This is Friday. We'll be back on Monday. You guys have an outstanding weekend. Keep your chin up. You got it going through any shit out there. Keep your chin up. Keep your chin up. Do the right damn thing at the end of the day. Until Monday, take care and bye.